This place is like a dream. Just toss a net into the water, and by the next day you'll have 1,000 pounds of fish. They built a huge stone fireplace over 100 meters long to cook all the fish. While waiting for it to roast, they enjoyed some berry tea. It's the 12th day of Alone in the Wilderness, and 5 pairs of contestants are still in the game. Lassie woke up early to take in the view, saying he slept well after feasting on roasted fish last night. Emil joined him at the shore to brush his teeth, while Lassie checked the fishing nets, hoping for another big catch today. Sure enough, they caught quite a few fish. One net alone caught 5 fish, but each of them had brought a net. The second net also caught a good number of fish. In total, the last 2 nets brought in 10 fish, more than enough to eat for the day. Danny and Rick woke up early to check the nets they set up the day before. They caught a big fish, which made Rick jump with excitement. As they slowly pulled it in, the fish fought hard and eventually broke free. They were so frustrated they could have cried, especially since the net still had half a dead fish hanging on it. Meanwhile, others had caught so many fish they couldn't finish them all. Victor's team planned to build a door today, while Anna and Bean intended to construct a shelter. They started chopping wood on the 6th day, but progress was painfully slow. They could only chop down 3 trees a day, and at this rate, the show might go broke before they finished the shelter. Their design was good, with a fireplace, but the construction was painfully slow. They were spending almost all their time on it. Wouldn't it be smarter if one person fished while the other built? Victor's team lives by the shore, where the wind made it freezing at night. Their shelter didn't even have a proper chimney yet. Those 2 brothers are really something. Anna and Bean work every day but haven't had any meat, so their efficiency is dropping. You need food for energy. The most relaxed are these 2 oddballs, sunbathing all day. Camilla's out catching lions for Martha, believe it or not. There are still fish roasting in the shelter. Who knew Camila could catch fish? She lives by eat well, go crazy, and avoids bothering her teammates when idle. Martha's quite the character too. Without her, Camila wouldn't be so wild. Danny's busy fixing the fishing nets. We lost a big fish today, so it's destined to be a hungry day. Actually, it's not the fish's fault for having a strong survival instinct. It's just that they got so excited seeing the fish that they forgot to catch it. The ones doing the best right now are Lassie and Emil. Not only do they have a warm shelter and a huge stone fireplace, but they've also caught so many fish that they have something to eat almost every day. They're really living it up. Their fireplace is smartly designed to burn outside and heat the shelter. After grilled fish, they even have berries. It's the 13th day, and Bean plans to finish the log cabin shelter today. Just a beam on the roof and a waterproof cloth left. If Anna and Bean complete it, it'll be the coziest shelter here. Martha and Camilla are also close to finishing their shelter, just needing some final touches. Overall, it looks good. Rick's daily fish route got flooded, so he plans to relay the path by cutting down 3 trees. He asked Danny to try it, and Danny almost took a nasty fall. It got flooded. He had placed a lot of wood there before and now plans to relay the path by cutting down 3 trees and placing them over it. Rick asked Danny to give it a try, and he almost took a nasty fall. If he had actually fallen, they might have broken up. Lassie and Emil are making their shelter better by adding branches inside for insulation and covering it with moss outside for extra warmth and to hold down the waterproof cloth. Their shelter isn't a log cabin, but it's decent. After finishing, they took a day off since they have plenty of fish. Anna and Bean moved into their new, spacious shelter but haven't caught any food. If they don't catch fish soon, they might have to go home due to hunger. Casper sits by the shore, staring blankly. After nearly 2 weeks, he's getting bored. Victor feels the same, especially since they have plenty of fish. With full bellies and good sleep, boredom sets in even more. Martha and Camilla are frying fish for breakfast. Since catching fish is easy, most contestants have food and built shelters. They either eat, sleep, or find ways to entertain themselves. Danny and Rick are still worried about food. They're probably the worst off, but they're a couple. Even though they haven't had enough to eat, others have. had enough to eat, but that doesn't mean others haven't. Camilla and Martha spend all day grilling fish, and the fish seems never ending. This kind of survival isn't difficult but really tests one's patience. On the 14th day, Anna got up early to brush her teeth. Even without toothpaste, she still pretended. Now they all have serious bad breath. Casper is outside picking berries, which taste much better than fish, even though they're a bit sour and bitter. But it's better than eating grilled fish every day. Watching this leisurely wilderness survival, I really can't stand them. Now, they have no worries about food or shelter. They're living too comfortably. The only thing I'm looking forward to is for Camila and Marcia to take a bath, just to cheer us up a bit. Danny and Rick are in the shelter, planning to modify the stove. Rick wanted to do it his way, but Danny shot him down. Danny is explaining his idea, and Rick is just listening like a fool. Victor and Casper are feeling very cold. The shelter isn't warm at all. They hope the fireplace can give them more warmth. Today, they plan to modify the fireplace again, otherwise, their sausages will freeze stiff at night. They wrapped the fireplace inside the shelter. Why don't they just chop some branches and surround the shelter? That would keep it warm, right? We better not interfere with their work. After all, it's not illegal for them to hit people. After Danny explained his idea to Rick, Rick just needs to do the heavy lifting. Danny treats his boyfriend like an ox, making him sit in the shelter doing nothing. Danny and Camila are both women, but Danny sits comfortably while Camila works like a dog. Marcia is cooking for her in the shelter, and Camila is chopping wood. When she stood up, she felt very dizzy and suddenly thought, this feeling is quite nice, so she stands there enjoying it until the smell of burning wakes her up. The fish in the pan is burnt. Rick is wandering around the shelter because Danny kicked him out, thinking the fireplace Rick built was ugly and deciding to build it himself. Anyway, Danny now thinks Rick is useless. Sometimes Rick really wants to cover Danny's face with moss, but he wouldn't dare. After all, it's hard to find a girlfriend, so he tolerates it day by day. Jesper has already remodeled the fireplace, wrapping the chimney with waterproof cloth. This means the fireplace is now inside the shelter. He lit the fire to test it, and it really warmed things up. Inside, it became a smokehouse for mice, and the entrance turned into a chimney. These two brothers, they're real geniuses, aren't they? While everyone else is building shelters, Martha and Camilla are busy making a doghouse. These two have no clue. It seems so obvious now, but they're arranging a willow bed. They might as well just sleep on a mat. It's the 15th day, half a month in. The weather gets colder every day. Each morning, Lashy feels the temperature drop when he goes to the bathroom. Thankfully, the wind isn't too strong, or the smell would travel for miles. After getting up, Martha starts grilling fish. A fishing net really makes things easier. Ben and Anna plan to go hiking. Seriously, who turns a survival challenge into a hiking trip? They're acting like they're on vacation. Please, go catch some fish. I'm here to comment on survival, not a travel vlog. Show some respect. Meanwhile, Rick is collecting moss, and Danny is gathering berries, their only source of vitamins. Poor Rick, he's so frustrated he just sat down and cried. Martha and Camilla, on the other hand, are having a grilled fish dinner in their shelter. It's now the 16th day, and it's starting to drizzle. The weather is getting colder, and the snow on the mountains behind them is piling up. The show's boat appeared again, and it turns out Jesper and Victor have decided to quit the competition. Their reason is simple. It's much harder than they imagined. Actually, their shelter wasn't built well enough. They had plenty of food and drink but felt really bored, so they chose to leave. What surprises will the contestants bring us next? Stay tuned for the next episode. I've never seen such a fierce woman. She came to the wilderness, took off her pants, and used a blanket to catch a cup of cola from a crack. She drank it right away. It was her first morning cola. How did she manage that? The new season of Alone in the Wilderness has started. It's now the 17th day. It rained last night, and Danny's shelter got soaked. Things are going really badly for her. Rainwater kept dripping from above because they left a wisdom window at the top. If it doesn't drip rain, will it drop cookies? Meanwhile, Lashy boasted about his cozy, dry sleep last night in his rainproof, warm shelter. Lashy was out and about early, despite the rainwater everywhere. Luckily, when they built the shelter, they thought about the roof and re-wrapped it with waterproof fabric, so rain isn't a problem. The wind is fierce today, making it cozier to stay inside and sleep. But Camilla has it rough. Her shelter is open, and the wind hits her face at night, making her drink a bowl of northwest wind. She needs to get rid of this wind from her body. She needs a magical potion. She went to the small woods, took off her pants, and placed a cup at the crack. In no time, she filled half a cup with the magical potion. This is her first cola of the day. How did Camilla drink that? But to expel the northwest wind from her body, she had no choice. I'm very happy because I won't have to eat that mushy stuff anymore. Cheese doesn't really taste like cheese. It has a bit of a cheese flavor, but that kind. Teammate Martha is lying in the shelter pretending to sleep. She doesn't dare wake up, fearing that Camilla might want to share her cup too. Danny is preparing to tidy up the shelter. They decided to cover the wisdom window on the shelter, otherwise the rain would drip into their heads. But usually, it's Rick who does this kind of thing. After all, Danny is a little princess. She might join you for fun, but she'd rather die than work. Rick is holding the waterproof fabric alone, not knowing where to start. If it were me, I'd just throw the waterproof fabric over Danny's head and toss her into the sea. Lashy and Emil went to check the fishing nets and noticed the mountain across was iced over. The wind and waves are fierce, and it's getting colder. The strong wind makes it tough for them to hear each other, complicating the net pulling. At this moment, they can't tell what the other is thinking as they both tug on the rope with all their strength. Fishing is tough for them, and Anna and Ben are struggling too. Talking to each other is tough. Camilla and Martha's camera keeps falling, making fishing harder. Danny's camera was directly blown over by the wind, and the lens shattered. Rick still couldn't get the waterproof fabric up. Danny had enough and went to help, grabbing a stick. Despite her efforts, they were less efficient together than alone. The reason was clear: they kept chatting and got distracted. Meanwhile, Camilla, the little carpenter, was back to chopping trees, aiming to clear the whole area. Martha lounged in the shelter, lost in thought, while Camilla toiled away. She needed to recharge in peace. Camilla was busy chopping branches to cover the tarp. Anna and Ben were rebuilding their raft. Without it, they couldn't go out to sea to fish. As a couple, they were more practical than Danny's group. Today, they caught a lot of fish. Anna was so eager to eat them raw. Others used rafts to set their nets. But Camilla was a different breed. She stripped down and waded right in, her body fat keeping her fearless. Their fishing net was tangled with too many branches. It was really tough to pull it up. If they didn't clean it up properly, the net would be useless. Anna was sitting by the shore cleaning the fish, but it was so cold that her hands and feet were stiff and she couldn't work. Everyone else was working and eating meat. Meanwhile, the two had just finished making out, and their net was empty. They were too busy kissing to catch any fish. How could they catch fish while kissing? Lashy's group came back to warm up after setting their net, and the shelter was still smoky. It was freezing outside, so Martha stayed inside, avoiding the cold, while Camilla worked on the fishing net. It was day 18. Anna was in the shelter fixing it up. She used moss to seal the cracks so the wind wouldn't blow on their heads while they slept. Camilla hadn't caught any fish for several days. She was now hungry and tired, trying to conserve energy. She sat in the shelter, going a bit nuts. The rain had been relentless for a week, making dry firewood scarce. Anna's group was the coziest now. They caught plenty of fish yesterday, enough for a few days. At least they had fish to eat daily. Eating well and sleeping was a luxury. Meanwhile, those two idiots by the shore hadn't eaten in ages. Danny saw something big in Rick's nose that looked very appetizing. She really wanted to pick it out and eat it. Rick was super helpful. He knew starving Danny wasn't great for their future kids. Eventually, Danny gave in and ate it. It tasted a bit like chocolate. Rick started pulling up the fishing net and found quite a few fish in it. Damn, they missed out. Had the chocolate too soon. Camilla got up to check the nets, hoping for some fish to eat. Fortunately, they caught 4 fish today. The hungry ones are still fishing, while the others relax by the sea. Camilla, feeling like royalty after catching the fish, saved the day. With some energy left, she started chopping wood again. Camilla has a special fondness for wood, but it's not as simple as you think. It's now the 19th day. Camilla wove a tray and hung it on the shelter's roof to store things. She's been looking for her toothbrush. Turns out Martha burned it. Lashy's gearing up to find firewood. It's been raining a ton lately. All the dry wood nearby has been used up. There are many trees around, but not much usable wood. They burn dozens of pounds of wood a day. They burn wood nearly all day, and it's crucial for survival. Camilla is worried about the wood too. Whenever Camilla works, she squats and acts bizarre. By day's end, they've gathered little wood, wasting time on her antics. Lashy spends any free time improving the shelter. It looks beautiful, like a grave from afar. Up close, it still looks like a grave. Sometimes, I don't even know what I'm narrating. The weather is good today. Anna and Ben are out setting the nets again, prioritizing fish. Camilla is fixing the only usable net. The sun is shining. Everyone feels great. Martha hasn't eaten fish in a long time and feels she can't hold on much longer. If they don't catch fish tomorrow, she might quit the competition. Camilla has done all the work. I really hope they catch some fish. Meanwhile, Lashy and Emil are bathing with hot water and towels. They bathe every 10 days now. Not bathing for 10 days might make them quite smelly to some ladies. It's now the 21st day. Rick saw 2 reindeer nearby, just 10 meters away. Unfortunately, he couldn't hunt them. Soon, the show's boat appeared again. Today is the day for the show's medical checkup. The weather is freezing, and all the contestants are huddled up. The doctor thinks Annie's condition is the worst. Her hands and feet are no longer agile. The shelter is very cold. There's no food left. The doctor warned they need to fix these issues fast or they'll have to leave the competition. Danny lay straight on the bed, with no fire in the shelter, likely because they were saving firewood for the night. Rick planned to modify the stove to make it warmer. Anna's situation wasn't much better. It was also very cold in their shelter because they didn't have a stove. Camilla invited Martha to go net fishing, but Martha felt it was too cold and suggested picking blueberries instead. Camilla didn't want to sit in the shelter all day. She preferred to wander outside. Berries could provide a tasty change from eating fish every day. The two of them ate straight off the ground since kneeling or sitting didn't work. Camilla claimed she was soaking up some good vibes. Rick finally finished modifying the stove, raising the bottom with stones to allow ventilation. This should improve the burning efficiency. Hopefully, this stove will keep Danny warm tonight. Anna also started a fire in the shelter, otherwise it was too cold. Having a fire would make sleeping much better. On day 22, the Lashy brothers got up early to check the shore nets and luckily caught some fish. This time, they only got 3 fish, just enough for a day. Camilla's group also checked their nets and had some luck. This beach had a lot of wood, and they managed to catch 7 fish, enough for 2 days. Danny and Rick hadn't had fish in a long time. Their nets just snagged wood. Rick worried about Danny's health. If this kept up, they might have to quit. The Lashy brothers caught fish and started a fire to cook them. If they could eat fish daily, they could stay here a long time. From the current perspective, they seemed the most likely to win. Even though they were doing well, sleeping comfortably, and eating well, they still felt mentally sluggish. Almost all participants experienced this during survival. Hunger and poor nutrition made their minds sluggish. Camilla and Martha kept busy in the shelter by playing games with stones. They played games with stones, which was the best way to pass the time, better than making wooden toys. On the 23rd day, the weather got colder each day, and snow had covered the entire mountain. Camilla didn't want to get up, and Danny was wiped out from the cold. Why didn't she take a cue from Camilla? They need to step up and catch some fish. Now, the only fun the girls have is playing with rocks, whereas Danny used to enjoy more intimate activities. Now, they're too hungry to even think about that. They fish daily but catch nothing. It's more like starving than surviving. On the 24th day, the show's boat appeared again. Which team is going to quit this time? It's obviously Danny and Rick. They've been starving here and freezing at night. Danny's body can't take it anymore. If they stay, they could die. Quitting is the smart move. Starving here is way worse than enjoying life back home. What surprises will they bring us next? Stay tuned for the next episode.